What's up, everybody? In the world that we find ourselves in, call coaching has become a big thing. We're using tools like Gong and Chorus and others to help us understand if the seller or the individual that we've trained is now able to execute the principles that we've trained them on. And we want to see how well they can execute it and what the reaction of the customer is and how that starts impacting the rest of the potential sales process that this seller or individual is going to be going through. But there's a couple of mistakes that companies make when they invest in these tools and start programs like this. I want to review them with you, and I made a little bit of a guide. And if you find it to be helpful, let me know, and I'm happy to share it with you. So, a couple of things. We have to look at this at an individual level. I'm approaching this from if I'm a CRO, if I'm a frontline sales leader, if I'm an enablement, I need to understand uh, I should say the impact that these tools are going to have for me is not just on an aggregate level. I actually don't really care that much about that data for this particular purpose. What I want is to assess an individual because I want to understand the sum of the parts of the team. And the way I have to do that is by assessing the individuals. So, in order for us to do this, we have to prepare to review calls, which means we have to have a hypothesis. What are we looking to evaluate? And this has to be specific. So if we take something like discovery, okay, well, if you want to evaluate somebody's discovery skills, that's great. But what in discovery? Is it how they ask questions? Is that how they open the call? Is that how they solution? Is that how they get your qualification or medpic or BANT information? Are you looking for what stories they're teaching? Are you looking for what insights they're sharing? What specifically are you looking for? And then you want to take that hypothesis and you want to apply it to the standard. What does good look like for what you're evaluating? And this is where companies fall off the cliff. More and more companies need to start understanding that if you have let's say, a discovery call, then you need to map out exactly what that interaction needs to look like to maximize your ability to have success in that customer interaction. Well, in order to do that, you have to understand what are the things we need to uncover about the customer. What are the things we need to teach? What are the things we need to share? Customer stories, what conversational pathways, all those types of things. And you need to organize this into a framework so that when you teach sellers how to do discovery at your organization, that they can actually see you've put some thought into it, and that you understand what good looks like. It's going to give them confidence that learning these things is actually going to lead them to success because you've done the research on it. So if you don't have that at a minimum, do not start call coaching. Just straight up. But if you do, let's keep going. So now we have to understand what calls are we going to choose. This is important. If we're looking for discovery, we better be about to listen to what our seller would deem a discovery call. Not necessarily what it might be denoted as in our system. But let's verify with the seller this was actually a discovery call. Make sure you know what you're looking for and if you should find it in the call that you select. So make sure you're looking at the appropriate interaction. The next thing is the reasoning. Why are you choosing these particular calls with this particular customer within this particular industry? Be specific about this. If we're looking to find something specific, we need to be very specific in the places that we look for it. And then we want to find out, what are you looking for from this individual? We know some history about them. That's why we're doing this. What have they not done in the past? What have they stopped doing? What have you recently taught them that you want to see if they're implementing for this individual? It doesn't have to be anything huge. It could be a simple question. It could be a turn of phrase. It could be a story you want them getting better at. It could be just how they introduce themselves in the meeting. All of these things matter. What are you looking for? Or what are the things that you're looking for? And when in the conversation should it take place? Pretty simple. Now, you've selected your calls. You're starting to listening. Remember, we're not drawing conclusions. We are gathering data at this moment still. But I want to understand, because emotion and tone and all these things have such great impact. Remember, the studies show somewhere between 50 and 70% of all our communication is nonverbal. If that's the case, then we need to understand what environment we're bringing to this interaction and the one that we walk into. So do we see our sellers prepared? What is their tone like? What's the customer's tone like? Their affect? How are they presenting themselves? Do they seem excited to be there? where they've dragged in here, did some really fancy marketing piece? Do we offer them a $25 DoorDash gift card to do this with us? And then how do we begin the conversation, the interaction with the customer? And then when you get to the moment that you're looking to evaluate, maybe it's the whole call, maybe it's a very small piece of it. But when that moment starts, you better have that guide out there with you. What does good look like? First off, you better know this. Commit to memory, be able to do it yourself. Highly advised. But what does good look like? What does the organization, your team, from your research, from your closed wins and losses, from all your customer research, from all the conversations you've had with throughout your sales process methodology and how you've come up with where you're at today, pull that out. And all we're looking for is how well is the seller performing versus your training baseline? How differently do they sound versus the role plays and testing scenarios you put them through, hopefully, before or as you taught them these skills and that you continue to reinforce? We should make a list of all the moments that they deviated from the ideal path, where what they said was different than what we've been taught. Again, we're not judging, we're just noting. And then let's list the specific moments where they did something really well. Right? What are the things that, hey, this is what our standard looks like. You hit it. Awesome. Good job. And then what are the moments where they did something special? Sometimes they'll share a story. They'll ask just a question at this beautiful, just perfect time. They'll introduce themselves a little bit differently. They'll state their agenda a little differently. They'll close the meeting out with a really exciting event or in a very unique way. Write those things down. Because remember, we're not here just to look for things that they're not doing. We want to make sure we bolster them up with the things that they're doing well. So that after you listen, what we want to do is kind of find three things. Where's the standard? Where's the opportunity? And what do we do that's special? And so let that call marinate in your brain a little bit. Look at the notes and say, okay, well, based on what we've taught them, this is where as a trainer and enablement, you have to be honest with yourselves. Based on what we taught them and how well we taught them, did they perform up to par? Is this what we're seeing across the board? If it is, and it didn't go well, and across calls you see it didn't go well, then you have to raise the quality of your training. So clearly this becomes systemic. Now, opportunities. What are the areas for improvement? And this is where you want to be very specific, because ideally you're not just sending this report back to them. You're going to have a meeting about these different situations so you can highlight for them, excuse me, the moments that the kind of attention that you're paying to their own development. So something like, hey, let's listen to this 15 seconds, because when you transition from the discovery to a little bit of teaching, I thought this was an opportunity for you to share that one story that we talked about last week in our team meeting, but you went with this one. Help me understand why. Here's why I think this story might have been more impactful. What do you think? Great. Let's try it. Let's try using that one next time. And then let's find the special things, right? Because look, we all have our individual styles. We all may take different routes to get to the same place. Doesn't mean any of those are right or wrong necessarily. We just want to kind of capture the moment, something we can share, because we're about to ask them to do something in relation to some of the opportunities that they have to improve. Well, let's at least start them off on a positive tone, right? Something like, "Hey, I loved how you closed out that meeting. I hate when a seller's on with me and I'm looking at my calendar as we say goodbye. Love that story you left me with and your excitement for meeting with me the next time. Great job. It's really nice. I haven't seen that from you. I know it's sometimes a struggle for you." Like, make them feel good about themselves, because in every call, our people are going to do something really good. Let's reward them for that. So then after this, we've got to solve this, right? Whatever opportunities we found, whatever deltas we have to our standard, let's solve them. So what are the activities your seller is going to perform? What training do you have to assign to them? What role plays do you want to engage with them? What guides or worksheets or frameworks? How are you going to have the team maybe help them? Do they need to complete before they're going to be reassessed? Yeah, reassessed. We identified something. We've now shown this to them. We should have a treatment plan ready. The same way that if a seller came to me saying, "Oh, I can't do X, Y, and Z," and I asked them, "Well, how do you plan to solve this?" And they say, "Well, I don't know. That's why I'm coming to you." If you haven't put thought into how you're going to solve something, why am I going to listen to the problem? Same thing. If we're going to go and give some feedback to an individual on how they can improve and make the results better and make more money, sell more deals, whatever makes them excited, then we need to have a plan on how to solve the things that we hear. Which is why when you have your activities that you bring out for these things, when you have your skills and competencies, when you have these call recording maps done the right way, they will come with suggested activities for all these things. If you need help, I'm happy to help you think through some. I've got some fun ones that we do. And then a date to reassess the skills. There has to be accountability. Otherwise, why do the activity in the first place? And lastly, if you saw perfection, it happens. Sometimes calls just go amazingly well. You're on fire, the old NBA jam. You can make it from anywhere. Then we're not going to say, hey, great job. I'll see you next month. This is now, here's a few areas identified. You can get even better. Have that list ready. Show them that you're not just checking the box on something that you may be measured against or to keep them at some baseline. Show them that you want to get them to the next level. One of the biggest fears that sales leaders have is hiring or developing their replacement. Well, look, your job is to make this team kick ass. That's how you rise up. Well, same thing. This is why sales enablement is so much fun, because you can partner with sales leaders to help their careers grow, your career grows, seller's career grows, great things happen. But if you saw perfection on that call, what can they do to get even better? What is the next skill that they're ready for? What's the 200 course that they can go take? And when are you going to hold them accountable to knowing that? When you review calls, if you take it seriously, if you have the right standards, if you understand what good looks like across your ecosystem of customer interactions, both as prospects and as customers, imagine how much better you'd be able to coach, because you would have a sharp understanding of what gets you revenue in the door and what keeps it in your house. Hope you enjoy this.